Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Charles. I want to welcome you to the Dreamerspro Podcast. I'm I'm your host of the channel, of the podcast. I'm one half of the Dreamerspro family here. And today we're going to be getting into a pretty exciting episode of the Dreamerspro Podcast. I got a lot that I want to get into in this episode today. So I hope you guys can bear with me. I know the setup is a little bit different, but you guys know what the way things are happening in the world right now. We're all trying to adapt and make sure we can make the best out of every single situation that comes our way. So with that being said, I got a lot I want to get into this week. A lot of us are still waiting for the NBA season to resume, but there's still a lot of things being said in the sports media. And in this particular episode, I got a gripe. I got a really serious gripe with Stephen A. Smith because of what he said on ESPN just yesterday to Max Kellerman when the question was posed to them, is LeBron James still the best player in the world? Okay. I have a lot that I want to say about this, but first what I'm going to do, I just want you guys to go ahead and check that out and listen to what he had to say about it.
Point number one, nobody brought up the word athlete. The question was best player. Number two, LeBron is the best player in the world. Number three, 35 years of age, 17th year in the league, top 2 candidate for league MVP honors. Last year, which Max Kellerman clearly holds against him, Max Kellerman talks about him taking his foot off the gas. When LeBron James got hurt and missed 17 straight games, LeBron James was a top 2 candidate for league MVP last season. Then he got hurt. I recall Max Kellerman in the past talking about how injuries should not be held against people. Kawhi Leonard ascending the way that he did. Kawhi Leonard goes up against a young puppy in Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons in the semifinals. It takes him 7 games to take them out. And he traveled on that bounce, by the way, that bounced 3 or 4 times before it went in the rim and beat Philadelphia in Game 7. He traveled, okay? And then he goes up against the Greek Freak and Nick Nurse, to his credit, combined with Kawhi Leonard. They pick the Greek Freak up at half court, and suddenly we find out that if you can prevent him from going downhill, you can turn him into a perimeter player, which he is not, and that's not his game, which is something that James Harden articulated a few weeks ago when the Greek Freak came at him wrong in the aftermath of the All-Star game. And James Harden said, if I'm just dunking on people, you know what, if y'all want to call that a skill, so be it. Not to say that that was totally true, because we know that the Greek Freak is skilled, but nevertheless, he's sorely lacking in terms of a perimeter game and a jump shot. Now, we get back to LeBron, top 2 candidate for league MVP again. 29th ranked offense when LeBron is off the floor this year. Number 2 offense when he's on the court. We can take into account what he brings to the table as an iconic global brand and all of that other stuff. Nobody's going to debate that. But when you look at what he's doing, at the level that he's doing it with, there is no debating this issue. Kawhi Leonard ain't on this brother's level in terms of the total package. Kawhi Leonard is an elite player. He's a 2-time champion, 2-time NBA Finals MVP. He's one of the top 5 basketball players in the world, plays on both ends. That much is true. But he doesn't necessarily make dudes around him better. It's just that he's an assassin, and he can put the ball in a bucket, and he can stop you from doing so as well. The only person in the last decade that we looked at and said, you know what, this guy he got a chance, he might be better than LeBron James, was Kevin Durant, who's been injured this year. Right now, as we look at this world, and we can ask Magic Johnson this question tomorrow when he's on the show, LeBron James, the best player on the planet right now. There ain't no debate.
Now, first of all, I have a lot of issues with what Stephen A. Smith is saying. And if you listen to him talk, I don't know if you guys saw that clip on ESPN, that soundbite. He was talking with a dead straight face. And what Stephen A. Smith likes to do is he likes to speak in qualifiers. He always uses a lot of qualifiers when he's talking about Kawhi, and I think the disrespect for Kawhi, Leonard that Stephen A. Smith has is getting to an extreme. Okay, for whatever reason, he finds it very difficult to give Kawhi Leonard his props, and I don't understand what that really is all about. To be honest with you, I just don't get it. In his monologue, he was basically explaining why he thinks that he says that Kawhi Leonard is not on the level of LeBron James. And as he went into all of that, he was sitting there talking about how, Kawhi was able to beat the Greek Freak last season. And that's when, and he said, as I told all of you, that the Greek Freak doesn't have a jump shot. He said he doesn't have a jump shot, and I was trying to tell all you guys this, and blase, 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 blah, and that was exposed. So if the Greek Freak was so inept, how is it possible that the Milwaukee Bucks had the #1 record in the Eastern Conference last season? If the Greek Freak and the Milwaukee Bucks was so inept, why did Stephen A. Smith pick the Milwaukee Bucks after the first game to completely smash the Toronto Raptors, to completely smash them? Why did he pick them? That's what I just don't understand. Why would he pick them? After that first game, he called the series over. Him, Paul Pierce, so many other people called that series over. He said it was over. He said it was a wrap. So if that is the case, and Kawhi Leonard came back and beat them, how is it possible that this dude is not on LeBron's level? Where did he get that from? And he continues to say this with a straight face. Now, Max Kellerman continues to call him out on it every single time. Yes, he does. We get that. But at the same time, it's too much. It's too much. If you look at Kawhi Leonard this season, the Clippers are currently the number 2. They're the number 2 seed in the Western Conference, right behind the Lakers, with so many of their players in and out of the lineup. Kawhi's averaging 27 points a game, 7.3 rebounds, 5 assists a game, shooting 47% from the field. And mind you, the majority of his shots are coming from the perimeter, in the mid-range, which seems to be a lost art in the NBA currently. Shooting 37% from the three-point line, shooting 89% from the free throw line, getting you almost 2 steals a game. In the playoffs last season, Kawhi Leonard was the only player to lead the playoffs in points, rebounds, and steals. He led the entire playoffs. So of all active NBA players in the playoffs last season, he led the entire playoff in points, rebounds, and steals. Yet you want to tell me that this dude is not on LeBron's level? And he can come up with a plethora of reasons why he believes so? I think Stephen A. Smith is full of it. And it needs to stop. Him saying that Kawhi Leonard is not that dude, you know what? I don't understand where he gets that from. Now, unfortunately, Kawhi doesn't have a bunch of media cohorts that go out there and preach, the Bible of Kawhi Leonard that are going to go out there and push back on Stephen A. Smith. He doesn't do that. But that's why people like me who are Kawhi Leonard fans and are trying to provide some level of balance have to come out and say this. I think it is absurd that Stephen A. Smith would say that Kawhi Leonard, a finals MVP, who played against the Lakers 3 times this season, smashed the Lakers 2 of the 3 times, is saying that he's not on LeBron's level. So if he's not on LeBron's level, whose level is he on? When you watch the Clippers versus the Lakers, those first 2 games, a blind man could tell you that Kawhi Leonard was by far the best player on the court. And he's not on LeBron's level. What the hell are you talking about? And Max Kellerman always calls him on. He says, listen, you're using qualifiers to talk about LeBron. He's in his 17th season. We get it. It's an amazing accomplishment. He's 35 years old. We understand that. That does not take away from what Kawhi Leonard is. You're using qualifiers, and Max Kellerman constantly puts him on the spot and tells him, we are talking about who is the best basketball player in the world right now. Not all time. Because if it's all time, then you got me. Then you have a completely separate debate. Then you're talking about someone else completely different. Then you start bringing in the Michael Jordans, the Tim Duncans, the Hakeem Olajuwons, the Kobe Bryants, the Shaqs. These people, the Magic Johnsons, the Larry Birds. But we're talking about who is the best player in the world today. And let me tell you guys something. There's no basketball player playing basketball today that I'll pick before Kawhi Leonard. Let me just go out there and say that now, in case some people listening to this or watching this podcast may be a little bit confused. I pick Kawhi over everyone because I've seen him deliver almost as much as LeBron. Kawhi Leonard has played for 8 seasons, and he's won 2 championships, 2 Defensive Player of the Year awards, led the league in steals. LeBron James has played for 17 years. He has 3 championships, 4 regular season MVPs. He's one of the greatest top 10 players of all time. But that does not give Stephen A. Smith the license to go out there and start saying that Kawhi Leonard is not on LeBron James' level. What is he talking about? Now, granted, guys, you're seeing me with a different disposition, a different tone for this particular video because it had me heated. And I said, I got to say something about it. And all of you guys maybe watching this or a Laker fan, just go on ESPN and just go follow those videos. We're providing balance. I'm talking about Kawhi like Kawhi. And I'm not apologizing for that. YouTube is a big place. If you don't like it, just watch the next video. So, but he got to stop with that. And I think the disrespect is becoming, it's reached a level where it just sounds foolish. I had to go back and watch Stephen A. Smith talk about the series last season in the Eastern Conference Finals and hear everything that he had to say and all about how the Milwaukee Bucks and now to sit here, to have him sit up there and talk like as if Kawhi Leonard hasn't accomplished anything. Well, excuse me. You have LeBron ahead of him all time. Nobody's disputing you on that. But Kawhi Leonard is no joke, and he is on LeBron James' level. Let me tell you that right now. The reason LeBron wanted Kawhi Leonard on the Clippers was not to increase his chances of winning a championship, was to remove him off the board. You recruit him so you get him out of your way. He's now on your side so you don't have to go through him. That's the reason why he wanted to recruit him. So Stephen A. Smith needs to stop with the foolishness. And I want to know what you guys think about it. For him saying that Kawhi Leonard is not on LeBron James' level. You guys need to let me know what you think about that because that is outlandish. Totally outlandish, and it makes no sense whatsoever. Which brings me to my next topic, which is Skip Bayless. Now, you know, because of this hiatus in games, and the NBA season will resume, guys. We're looking at June. We're looking at June for games to start being played again. And probably the season is going to run all the way into August and September. And I think everything is just going to be fine. But because of this delay in games, because of the whole, you know, the world is pretty much trying to fight this mysterious illness. Excuse me. A lot of these sports talk shows have had to change the way that they produce their shows. And if you watch us at Dreamers Pro, you would notice that since this virus hit, we've actually been producing more content than ever before. Just to show you guys that we're not going to be flustered about what's happening. And we're dead serious about the work that we do. And we're producing more content for you guys and trying to keep you guys even more engaged. So when people are dialing back and doing reruns, we're hitting you guys with fresh content every single day. So Undisputed has been shooting their show in sort of in a quarantine kind of fashion. I think Skip Bayless shoots it from his house. Shannon Sharp shoots it from his house. I haven't seen them in the same location yet. But anyway, the show is still going on. And in the recent episode, they were talking about LeBron James, his chances for the regular season MVP, and what they think is going to happen when the NBA season resumes, given this 3 to 4 month hiatus that the NBA games have been on. And Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharp were weighing in on what they thought was going to happen or what they think is going to transpire once the season resumes again. And Skip Bayless gave some interesting takes that I couldn't quite follow. I couldn't follow his train of reasoning. But in one of the things that he was saying that he believes that because of this long break, first of all, he still thinks that LeBron. Well, before I get into it, just take a listen to what he had to say.
So, Shannon Sharp, I regret to make this announcement right here on live TV on Undisputed. Your man, LeBron James, just won his 5th, if you can believe, MVP, and his 4th. I'm sorry, back in the control room, I'm getting it back, my voice back in my ear here, if you guys could fix this. But this is driving me crazy like my voice in my ear is. But Shannon, what happened was that your man was on a hell-bent pace to win this MVP. And I believe he had just edged past, you think he had blown past Giannis for this year's MVP. And in so doing, he was playing high minutes for a guy who was in year 17. You were making the point, well, it's a career low minutes per game for LeBron. But the point was that he still played 209 more minutes than anybody else on the Los Angeles Lakers. That's astounding to me. And he'd still played the 15th most minutes in the whole NBA. And for a guy nearing the end of year 17, a guy who did get hurt a year ago on Christmas Day when he pulled his groin and really wasn't the same the rest of the year and they missed the playoffs, for that kind of guy, 209 more minutes than any other Laker is a pretty precipitous pace that you're on, because you are daring the injury devil that you're going to get hurt again. So I thought it was right on time for LeBron to not only clinch his 5th MVP, which, by the way, would tie him with Michael Jordan, but also it puts him in even much stronger position to win his 4th ring. He's now 3-6 in the finals. That would be 4-6 in the finals, and at least make him a little more credible candidate for GOAT, as you already proclaim him. But the point was, with the Clippers, they just needed reps. They needed this season to go forward because they just haven't played together enough. Remember that only 10 times, well, it's now 11 because they lost that game to the Lakers, but only 11 times this year have they had their full roster intact, and they'd played 64 total games. And remember this, LeBron had already played 60 games, and AD had played 55 games, and together they had played 53 games. So they'd gotten a whole lot of reps as a duo, as a dynamic duo. What's happened with the Clippers? Kawhi's down at 51 games. Paul George is way down at 42 games, and they've only played 32 games together. So it's 53 together for LeBron and AD, and only 32 together for the dynamic duo of the Clippers. And again, I think the Clippers are better than the Lakers, but they're not more experienced this year than the Lakers, because they need to get something clicking by playing more games. And now they can't play any games, and we're not sure whether they're going to be any more games. But if they have a brief sort of prelude to playoffs and then throw everybody into an abbreviated playoffs, maybe it'll be 5-game series instead of 7-game series. Well, it's a huge, huge advantage to LeBron James. So I'm going to congratulate him, because the team I love, the Clippers, by the way, remember, they just recently added Marcus Morris and Reggie Jackson. They are high-volume shooters. They are ball dominant. You know, one guy's off the bench and one guy's a new starter, but they're new ball-dominant cogs to this attack, and they're going to shoot the basketball. Well, you got to figure out how to blend them in to the new chemistry of the Clippers, and I think that's going to be a big problem if we just go, boom, start the playoffs. Your thoughts?
Now, that's Skip Bayless basically explaining his position on whether or not he feels that LeBron is still going to win the regular season MVP. I don't quite agree with him on that. I don't know how he was able to get to that conclusion, but I think that that's Skip Bayless basically just saying that he believes that the media is so skewed towards LeBron, although they took a poll and 60% of the people are saying most likely they're going to vote for Giannis. He still thinks that somehow, some way, LeBron is going to pull that thing out and win the regular season MVP. But then he took it a step further and then went on to say that he thinks that because of this break, that the Lakers are now in a great position to win the NBA championship, and he thinks that the Lakers are going to win the NBA championship because of this long break, and the Clippers still are integrating some new pieces like Morris and others, whereas the Lakers seem to have a little bit more chemistry on their team. So therefore, he thinks it's going to lend to the success that the Lakers are going to have, because LeBron James, who's a player in year 17, is going to have more rest. Therefore, is going to allow him to be able to be fully rested and ready to go for the playoffs. And therefore, he believes that the Lakers are going to end up winning the NBA championship, and LeBron James is going to be the regular season MVP and the finals MVP. I don't agree with pretty much any of that. I don't know how he arrived at that conclusion, but that's what Skip Bayless seems to believe. Now, currently for the season, LeBron is averaging 25.5 points a game, getting you 7.9 rebounds and 10.6 assists, which is a career high, and he's also leading the league in assists for the first time ever. He's playing 35 minutes a game, shooting 50% from the field, 35% from the three-point line, and 70% from the free throw line, getting you 1.2 steals a game. So LeBron has definitely stepped it up in year 17, especially from the defensive end of the floor. And I have to credit him for being the leader that's really spearheaded the Lakers being the number one team in the Western Conference with a 49-14 record currently, and they've won 8 out of their last 10, and a lot of that has to be attributed to the work that LeBron James has put in to help the Lakers be able to be the number one team in the Western Conference. And also, I have to give LeBron James a lot of props because he was able to beat two of the major teams that he's most likely may face in the playoffs, either in the Eastern Conference if they go to the finals, or in the Western Conference Finals by beating the Clippers and the Milwaukee Bucks in a back-to-back effort, obviously with a day apart. And LeBron James was able to bring those wins home, especially with the performance that he put up against Giannis Antetokounmpo. I think it was on Friday, and then with the game that with the game that the Lakers were able to put away the Clippers on that Sunday that they were able to play each other. That was when, right before the season just had to be suspended. So I definitely commend LeBron James because he is the driving force for the Lakers having all of the success that they have. But for Skip Bayless to now be able to extrapolate information based off of everything that he's seen and maybe from his past experiences, then to go as far as to say that he now believes that he believes that LeBron James is going to win the regular season MVP and then ultimately win the finals MVP. You lost me there, Skip, and I like you. The regular season MVP, I can see it if it's a political game. I can see that happening because we've seen the tide sort of shift really quickly. And a lot of people are now jumping on the LeBron James bandwagon. But as far as, him winning the finals MVP, I completely disagree with you on that one, Skip. I don't see how you're able to reason that out. The rest that he's getting is the same rest that all the other teams that are playoff bound are going to get. So all things remaining the same. I mean, the Clippers had a lot of knick-knack injuries to players like Paul George, Pat Beverly, Kawhi Leonard, and others. And all of these guys are going to have 3 or 4 months off. So if you originally believed that the Clippers are the best team in the league, why would you now change your pick when the Clippers have more rest? Yes, the Lakers have rest, but so do the Clippers. So he's making his argument based off of chemistry. And as I said, I don't believe with his final take on that. This is just my opinion, by the way. You guys can definitely chime in the conversation. Now, granted, if you guys are listening to this, if you're watching this on YouTube, be sure to check out the Dreamerspro Podcast. I forgot to mention that at the beginning. And if you're listening to this on the Dreamerspro Podcast, make sure you check us out on YouTube. The name of the channel is Dreamerspro. Make sure you guys check us out. We got a lot of great content on sports that you guys, I'm sure, will definitely enjoy. So don't forget to check out the Dreamerspro Podcast or the YouTube channel Dreamerspro. So those are basically my thoughts and opinions on the whole Skip Bayless, picking LeBron to win the regular season MVP and also him picking LeBron to win the NBA Finals MVP. So I definitely want to know what you guys think about this. If you're watching this on YouTube, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. And if you're listening to this on the Dreamerspro Podcast, make sure you guys leave some ratings or feedback in any way that you can. Again, we're on Spotify and iTunes. So let us know what you guys think about what I've been saying thus far in this particular in this podcast episode. And finally, I want to end this segment with some good news. And the good news is, guys, that the NBA, we will have an NBA season. We are going to have an NBA season, and it's not going to be canceled. And there are a lot of reasons why that's going to happen. Number one, I'm currently shooting this video in Nigeria, and the government has issued a 2-week ban. Not a ban, but it's told pretty much everyone to stay home for the next 2 weeks, 7 to 14 days, for them to get a better hold of what's happening with this particular virus. And then after 2 weeks, the country will start to open up again. The country will open up. Italy is looking to open up their economy, I think, on the 15th of April. In the United States, I don't know yet, but I'm sure they're working on a tentative date to open up the economy. So things can still definitely happen. And the NBA season is going to happen, and we listen to Jalen Rose and Mike Windhorse, I believe his name, on ESPN yesterday, give their take on whether or not they think the NBA season is going to resume anytime soon. Brian Windhorse, of ESPN, he was a little bit more on the pessimistic side, although he did agree that there could be a chance for that. Jalen Rose was very optimistic, and he said a lot of people in the NBA circles are afraid of the NBA season clashing with the football season when football season resumes. So I just want you guys to take a listen to that and see what they had to say about that. So that's basically these two analysts' takes on what's going to happen when the season, if the season is going to resume. And I tend to be more on the side of Jalen Rose. I think the season is going to resume, number one. I think a lot of the teams that are not playoff bound are definitely going to have some rest when the season resumes again. It's also giving the NBA some time to really examine whether or not they want to have a shortened schedule moving forward. That's something that a lot of people have been lamenting about. I'm not one of them because I haven't given it much thought. Maybe I will in the future if you guys prompt me to talk about it. But for now, that it seems to be that the NBA season will resume and we will have some games this coming season. It just seems that maybe the playoffs are going to happen at a later date. If the season resumes in June, let's say the beginning of June, mid-June, then if they add some games to the regular season, maybe 10 games, so we're probably looking at another 2 to 3 weeks of games, just so players can get their legs under them. And then once they get their legs under them, then I think everything else will pretty much resume. And when the playoffs resume, then everything is going to just pretty much work out the way we expected it to. Excuse the background noise, guys. I'm actually in a hotel trying to get you guys this content. As I said, we're doing any and everything to make sure we get you guys content. So just excuse the background noise. We're just trying to make sure that, content still keeps coming out for you guys. But we're going to get through it. So, yeah, those are my thoughts and opinions on that. I definitely think that the NBA season will resume, and I think everything is going to work out for the best in the very end. So these are my thoughts and opinions on this season thus far and what's going to happen. Again, if you're listening to this on the Dreamerspro Podcast, make sure you definitely check us out on YouTube. We have the YouTube channel. It's called Dreamerspro. And if you're watching this on YouTube, make sure you check out the Dreamerspro Podcast on Spotify and iTunes. Once again, this is Charles here from Dreamerspro, wishing you guys an amazing day and catch you guys on the next episode. Peace.